So we're going to stand up to start. We're going to stand in the middle of our mats. We're going to bring our feet close or together, and we're going to spread the toes. Chest is up. Shoulders are down. Breath is natural. Pelvic floor is buoyant. Responsively buoyant. That is to say, there's a sort of moment-to-moment change in that buoyancy, which is responding to the way things are changing in reality, just to keep the energy or awareness or consciousness in the central channel, what we call the central channel. So it just kind of nudges, it reminds, whenever the energy tries to sort of drop out and fall back into its habituated patterns, the buoyancy of the pelvic floor keeps the energy in the central channel. We raise the arms up, staying with that buoyancy in the pelvic floor. Staying with the buoyancy in the pelvic floor. Breathing through your nose if you can. Jaw soft, eyes soft, roots of the neck relaxed. So it's called Urdhva Bahu, upwards arms. And the tummy is responsively toned. That means it's drawing in and up, and you're consistently finding and refinding that nudge, that reminder that energy should stay in the central channel. So it's a nudge, it's a reminder, it's repeated again and again and again. The breath, of course, is natural. The yoga practitioner is always, while practicing yoga, relaxed. And hopefully in the rest of life too. But, we've got to start somewhere, at least. So, bend ankles, knees, and hips, and let the whole body tilt forwards. A fairly exaggerated version of Utkatasana, where we can hinge up and down from the hip joints by bending and then re-extending to some degree. The legs, the whole thing tips back and forwards, massaging the lower back, massaging the hamstrings, massaging the iliotibial tract. Need I go on? From there, we reach down and touch the floor. So bend as much as you need to. Take deeper breaths. So more expressive breaths. And take movements that allow flow in the back. So sometimes we want to or need to move our bum side to side or up and down. We don't get involved in thinking about it. We just respond straight away. It's sort of much more natural, just respond straight away. Like any other animal, any other mammal for that matter, stretches they don't think about it. They're not like, is this okay? Is this fitting in with the way other, cats stretch, or dogs stretch? Raise the arms behind you. Keep your ribs down on your legs, and then raise the arms up. And allow a little bit of movement up and down or whatever else works. And then finally ascend all the way. Big, wide circle, hands to heart, breath really deep and natural. Jaw soft, eyes soft. So it's the Tadasana Namaskara. Deep, natural, honest breathing. A Tadasana Namaskara. Breathing easy. Find the pelvic floor. So we started with that. We're going to do that again. We're going to come to the nudging of the pelvic floor, the energy of the pelvic floor. That is to say, we're keeping awareness, sometimes called Kundalini, sometimes called Chandalini, sometimes just called Chit. Awareness, consciousness. Keeping that awareness in the central channel, which is a point of centrality, of non-duality, of complete openness, of pure potential, of availability, of inclusion, of love. Need I go on? Raise the arms. Urdhva Bahu. Arms up. A very ancient practice amongst the Tapasyans, and so practitioners of tapas. And again, keep that little nudge. It's a very powerful thing to focus on. Just that maintenance of awareness or energy, just pure energy. What is awareness other than pure energy? So that pure energy nudged into the central channel as a sort of buzz or fizzing or just pure aliveness. And it's done through repetition, and I find movement. So sometimes I'm drifting left and right, because to be able to keep the nudging up the pelvic floor, one has to be able to stay out of the three grrs, the gripping, grasping, grabbing territory. Then we're going to bend ankles, knees, and hips again. We're going to reach down. We're going to play with this tilting Utkatasana. So as the knees bend and extend, the arms and torso, the arms are just indicating what the torso is doing, move up and down. You can feel as you move up, the stretch in the calcaneus tendon gets stronger. That's from the calves to the heels. And finally, coming all the way down, bending as much as we need to, touching the floor with some deep natural breaths. Again, moving in any way that's responsive. So that could be moving your bum left and right. It could be bouncing the bum up and down. It's about it being responsive. When you're ready, place the left hand on the floor in front of the feet, in the middle of the feet. Can be flat, can be cupped. And then turning, bringing your right hand onto your sacrum, which is just above your tailbone. Breathe through your nose, step out of stasis and into flow. Relax the jaw and breathe expressively. So let there be movement if movement helps to step out of the tendency to concretize, to polarize, to become a sort of person. Step out of becoming a person. It's just an avatar. We're not actually becoming a person. We're just forming an idea, which actually the reality of our essence personhood can't fit into. Let's turn the other way similarly. And breathing through our nose. So our other hand is on the sacrum. That's the bony plate above the tail, below the lumbar. And it's breath for us, it's breath. We're breathing deeply and we're moving in ways that are evocative of that breath and modality. Back to the floor with both hands. Raise the arms up like you're skiing. The ribs are on the thighs. Then raise the arms. Utkatasana, you can have it as low or as high as you like. It can be quite a low Utkatasana or a higher Utkatasana. But we are going to come up, working with the knees as we find them. And then big circle to release. Hands at the heart, step your feet apart. Breathe through your nose. Just check the alignment of your toes are level, equidistant from the front of the mat. Turn your left toes in and lifting the heel only of the right foot. Turn at least 3/4 of the way around and finish the last little bit on the heel itself. So you land the heel at the end and turn it. Then raise your arms. Breathe through your nose. Raise your ribs. Breathe through your nose. Feel that pelvic floor, muladhara. Remember, mula means root and adhara means support. So the support at the root. According to Hatha Yoga, this is where the Muladhara is placed, but other traditions use different Muladharas. But one way or the other, you're keeping energy in the central channel, whether it extends to the pelvic floor or somewhere lower, somewhere higher up. Inhale, exhale, Trikonasana. Go in real slow. Go in real slow. So that you can feel and adjust with micro movements of your heel bone, where the weight is, according to the stretch you're feeling through the hamstrings. So rather than just sort of letting the stretch just happen upon you, you kind of control the amount that comes in and where it is through the movement of your heel, your front heel, or back heel as well. Don't hold the breath. Imagine a soft drawing down from the bottom shoulder blade down to the bottom hand of energy. It's an energetic movement. And inhaling, calmly coming up. Hands on the hips while we turn the feet forwards. Breathe through your nose if you can. Back toes in. Lift the heel of the front foot only. Turn at least 3/4 of the way around, and the last little bit is finished off on the heel. Then raise the arms to raise the ribs. When the ribs raise, make sure the very roots of the neck are soft. So if you go down, there are 7 bones in the neck. The 7th cervical vertebrae is atypical in terms of its process, its spinous process. Looks a little bit more like the spinous processes of the bones that go further down. So you can feel it more. That's the bottom line. It's easier to feel. Sticks out further. Inhale, raise your lead arm. Exhale. Again, slow it down so you can feel, but not tense, but very, very happy, very relaxed. Exploring like a sort of, like just being very sensitive, very absorbed, very focused. Breath comes and goes very naturally, very naturally. And it's moment to moment to moment to moment, without holding a breath, with a soft, passive jaw. And so it's like savoring something, or, just being really awake, in the most sort of beautiful way. Like the most gentle a person can be is also the most awake they can be. Great. Adho Mukha Svanasana, down face dog. So windmill your hand down, rotate the back heel out, step your front foot back, and you're in your Adho Mukha Svanasana, your downward facing dog, where we start with the palms padded into the mat for the sake of absorption or samadhi. So as you pad your paws, your palms, imagine the molecules meditating, in other words, unifying with the molecules of the mat until there's surrender, sharanagati, total surrender. And that surrender is the most awake we can be. And the most awake we can be is the most gentle we can be. So it's beautiful shared moment. Everything's part of it. Everything's partaking in this moment. Gravity, breath, psychology, muscles, nerves. As we extend, explore, it's always starting with the palms and their meditative contact with the mat. And then it extends up on the basis of that meditative contact as our foundation, up through the armpits. Really upwards direction is reiterated again and again and again and again and again. So it's like waves of intention passing through the body and bringing influence to each and every part over time. Well done. Come down to hands and knees, then down to forearms. Then stretch your legs back behind you and hover the body at a diagonal angle from shoulder blades to buttocks, from buttocks to heels. In other words, the bum shouldn't be rising up above the height of the shoulder blades unless the buttocks are filled with helium and floating up into the highest reaches of the Earth's atmosphere. But otherwise, they should stay below the shoulder blades. And of course, movement is allowed, even encouraged, to the point that it's effective. And that might be a movement left, it might be movement right, it might be circular movement of the pelvis. You can even bend the knees and rest them on the floor if you need extra support. Okay, well done. Bring your knees forwards, extend your legs out in front of you, draw the buttock flesh out and back. Now, we can ascertain whether or not a block is useful, or 2 blocks if you've got them, simply by drawing the buttock flesh out and back, and then with the hands next to the hips, seeing if we can get some lightness felt through the lumbar, that is the lower back. Now, there are 3 possible answers to the question, does my lumbar feel light? One is yes. And if it feels light and buoyant and lifted, you stay without a block. The other 2 answers you take a block for, and they are no, it doesn't feel light, it feels heavy, or I don't know. If you don't know if it feels light or heavy, then you take a block as well. So one block or 2 blocks, short end to short end. So you've got a platform for your hands as well. If you took a block, now adjust the buttock flesh again, and otherwise hands next to the hips for everybody when the time's right. Head up, breathe through your nose. Toes relaxed. So I don't know how easy it is for you to relax the toes. Get each and every toe and relaxes. And of course, to relax the toes, you have to relax the mind, in fact, everything. And particularly the tensest part of a human being, which is the creation of their avatar, which is made up of bits and bobs that are left lying around. Our avatars are made up of bits and bobs that we find laying around, like other people's opinions. We think, oh, okay, I'll make my avatar, put that in there. It's like the worst ingredients, you just don't match up. And then your own opinions based on something that just happened, and then something else that happened. So you've got contrary things, You've got things like, I'm a nice person, mixed into the mix. And you've got things like, I'm not a nice person. You've got those mixed in there. You've got various views and opinions about how you look, depending on, where the light is and how your eyes are working that day and whether or not, things are as they should be. And all these various things that are left lying around, we mix in and make our avatar, which is therefore full of contradiction and confusion. The ingredients don't match or mix. So that causes a lot of tension. Instead of that, concentrate on the toes, relaxing. You can't do both at the same time. You can't make your self-avatar and relax the toes. You can flit between the two, but you can't do both at the same time. So as the toes relax, the pelvis can be moved so that the back can be felt. That means the pelvis can tilt forwards and backwards, or even left and right. I call this station ranging around. And the purpose of it is lift and lightness in the lumbar. Lift and lightness in the lumbar. And of course, it opens a door to the infinite, as Patanjali recommends that we do when we're practicing yogasana. Okay, well done. Ease out of that pose. If you're on a block, come off the block, bend your knees, hug gently your legs, breathe through your nose if you can. Keep the jaw passive and soft. A little movement side to side can be helpful, just as a way of massaging the back. Take deeper breaths. And that massage creates a sense of flow or vahi or vahita, which is something we want to surrender to. So flow, is in a way completely different to creating an avatar of oneself. Flow is the ability to stay open with the reality of what we try to fit into a picket-fenced self-view. The reality of that is interdependence. What we say, my thoughts are interdependent, my feelings are interdependent, even my temperature is interdependent, even my blood pressure it's interacting, all these things interacting with our environments, our moods. It's like, oh, my mood is like this. And other people blame us. Why are you in such a bad mood? Or I love it when you're in a good mood. Or, they're interdependent, our moods, with what our senses are taking in, consciously or otherwise. So we're just rocking gently, massaging easily. And from here, we're going to see if we can lean back enough to lift the feet, still with the arms around the legs. And breathe through the nose if you can. It's a meditation, so breathe deep. And in a sense, we're not trying to control We're trying to be open, like a surfer isn't trying to control the waves underneath her. Not at all. She's opening up to the way the waves are. And that's how she's able to surf. Okay, when you're ready, take the legs a little way apart, bring your arms through the inside of the legs and reach for the big toes. This is, of course, Upaya Padangusthasana, holding both big toes. Jaw is soft, eyes are soft, breath is deep. If you want, when it feels interesting, you can begin to extend the legs to whatever degree you want. It might feel better to keep them bent in terms of the breath. It might feel good to experiment with one or the other or both. Importantly, don't hold the breath, let it flow. And let the whole thing flow. So any hardening of the mind is softened. Which is why Patanjali says you should be relaxed. Very importantly, you should be relaxed when you practice yoga. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Okay, cross the legs in the air, reach forwards, and then stretch your legs back, or you can even just jump, up to you. That might be a bit silly, but you can if you want. We're in Kumbhakasana, and again, we're ranging around to avoid slipping into the grip and grasping, grabbing modalities. So we just sort of dance around them. We sort of, like Muhammad Ali's kind of footwork, we do that metaphorically around obstacles and opponents. Muhammad Ali won a lot of fights, apparently, because mostly he just danced around avoiding punches until the other person trying to punch him was completely exhausted. And then he'd just give them a little bop and they go down and be like, yay, I bopped them, or whatever punches, or what they're called, boxers, not called punches, are they? Boxers do. So I find him quite endearing, actually, Muhammad Ali, apart from the punching. But there's something about that sort of lightness that we want here in this pose. Okay, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Breathe through your nose if you can. I think his catchphrase was, dance like a butterfly, sting like a bee. So the dance like a butterfly is the bit, the latter bit, we can leave that. So, definitely there's a sense in which, he was sort of riding the waves of the moment, not expending lots of energy, but surfing on the top of the waves of the moment. So that's how we are in this pose, as we feel our palms. It's like different molecules light up. Perhaps you can feel like fizzing. Trying to feel things, that won't work. It's got to be relaxed, so deeply relaxed. Because we're interested in the way things are, not the way we are told they should be or think they should be, or just the way things are. Coming down to regular kneeling, you can, of course, use a block between the heels and buttocks, can and should if your knees are tight. Rest one hand on top of the other, the Vajrasana. Breathe through your nose if you can. Jaw soft. If your ankles are tight or you're getting cramped, if the foot arches, a blanket rolled underneath the front ankles on top of having a block, those can be super helpful. Take 2, 3, 4 or more really deep, natural, honest breaths, really deep, natural. And I think it's useful to sway side to side in terms of it both lulling us out of any potential gripping habits, So it's a little sort of lulling rock. And B, in terms of it massaging various muscles by putting on pressure and then releasing them, and then releasing it. Deep, natural, honest breath. Now, a lot of people ask me with their eyes, they never actually say the words, but they ask me with their eyes, Jim, why don't we do more press-ups in the class? I'd love to, their eyes then follow up by saying, love to do more press-ups, please, Jim. And I usually just ignore their eyes. I don't like to feel pressured like that. But today, I'm feeling generous. So I'm backing down to your request for more press-ups. So we're going to start with one press up, okay? One. So you start in Kumbhakasana, just one press up. Not going to ask for any more than that. Let's come down, hovering, and push up. One press up. And then come back to kneeling. Exhausted. In need of a little piece of orange, or what footballers have half time after that one press up. Breath centered. If we were to do another one, we could tell our friends and family today that we had done 2 press ups this morning. So I think we will do one more press up. See if you can whip up some enthusiasm, even excitement for the press up position. Down you come, hover and smile, and then push up. Okay. Come forwards and kneeling again. That was spectacular. What a spectacular sight. Breathe through your nose if you can. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Well done, well done, well done, well done. Deep, deep breaths. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Now, if you wouldn't mind folding your mat in half, I'd be grateful. One way to do it, and the only way that I can think of that works, is to pull one end towards the other end. You knew that already. You know how to fold things. And then turn it around 90 degrees. It would be super if you had at least a couple of blocks nearby, and they can be used in multivarious ways, and a belt as well. Then you come towards the front of your mat, coming close to the wall behind me, making absolutely sure that your feet are well on the mat. So that's why you come to the front of the mat. So make sure your feet are definitely on there. Having done that and felt reasonably happy about your accomplishments so far this morning, we bring the right leg forwards and round and work the feet towards each other. I do a sort of windscreen wiper blade kind of, it's a very defunct windscreen wiper blade, like many of the windscreen wiper blades on many of the cars I've had over the years. Most of them have been fairly defunct. A couple of them have actually caught fire before as well. That's another matter. Now this is generally, you can get enough out of this by just pushing back into the calf muscle of the upper leg. So you just push back and forwards and play with it and breathe into it. And, as we've often said before, a great yogin gets more and more from less and less. However, if you want to get a little bit more sensation, now you can take those blocks, for example, and that can slow down the process a little bit so that you don't have to take it all on the chin. Otherwise, it can feel a bit like a right hook from Muhammad Ali. This, by the way, is the first time ever in my life that I've used boxing and mentioned Muhammad Ali in a yoga class. So it's a historic event. Breathe through your nose to yourself. This is the Gomukhasana. And we breathe into it. Now, there's one other thing one can do with the block to assist, and that is put it between the heels and the buttocks. And that acts as a little platform, and the other one can be a sort of balancing thing, juggle with it. And so that can be useful. If you wanted to, you can take your belt. That's another reason for the block. You can get your belt with it. And we're going to, if you want to, we're going to take opposite arm up to the top leg and then bring the hands to meet each other, or bridge the gap with the belt, of course. Breathe easy. It's not an easy pose, but it gets you out of the house at least. Oh, saying that, quite a lot of you are zooming in, so. It's not completely unlike a circus in here, which I'm enjoying. The head is in line with the spine, the breath is natural, the jaw is soft, the yogini is meditating. She or he or they are riding the waves of the moment. This is why openness or shunyata is so strongly emphasized. Openness. That's how I like to translate shunyata. Some people translate it as, well, sunya is still the Hindi word for zero. So nothingness. Some people say emptiness. The positive way of framing that is simply openness. Openness. It's an amazing feeling, openness. If we understand when Buddhists talk about emptiness, what they're really talking about is openness. Okay, nice and easy. Come out of the pose in your own time. If you put the block there, so I found that quite treaty actually, putting the block there. Then take it out and then go for the second side, similarly. Don't hold the breath, breathe through your nose, bring the other leg forwards and round. I'll tactfully mention for gentlemen that this should crush the calf muscle, but nothing else should be crushed. So it's a tactful way of saying, please, gentlemen, adjust whatever else might be crushed. I won't mention directly the testicles, but anyway, please feel free to move things. From there, we can either move back just a little bit, because that can be enough. You can get a really good crushing sensation that way. Or you can come up and use the blocks as sort of Dali-esque sort of, props, like a Salvador Dali painting. Or you can pop the block between the heels, both heels and buttocks. That can give a little extra supportive platform, which I don't usually use, and I've got there now. It feels like luxury. And then whichever leg's on top, you can use the belt, or if the hands will reach without the belt, that's also fine. One elbow up, one elbow down. Breathing through the nose if possible. So, we're not trying to achieve the pose. We're trying to use sensations as portals, as sort of chutes, to move through into a different experience, direct experience of interdependence. The direct experience, the pratyaksha. Keep your head in line with the spine. The jaw soft and eyes relaxed. Okay, nice and calm and easy. People come out of that real quick when you say anything like come out. But even before you said come out, you just say a word and people hear come out. They so desperately want it. Then we're going to open up the yoga mat, turn it back the right way. Now, it would be really super and useful if you had a cork block or wood block, like the brick-sized blocks around. But if you don't, you might have a regular block. Now, so I'm going to use a regular block because they're not quite as stable as the other ones. And so I know some people Zooming at home might not have the brick one. But if you've got the brick block, that's what we're going to use. We're going to come onto hands and knees with our block quite close and take a breath or two. So a deep, natural breath or two. From there, we can turn towards me and raise up one leg. And your block is there to give you support. And you breathe calmly. And of course, you might feel various sensations, like the abductors of the legs on the outer leg. You can feel they're abducting, they're pulling the leg out and up. And the adductors on the inner leg, getting a stretch that you can breathe into. For most people, staying with the block is the right thing to do. But for those that are bold, adventurers, you might want to experiment with taking your hand off and raising your arm up. The clue, the way in which you can balance best is to move very slowly with each and every micro moment in your attention. So you breathe calm, breathe easy. Excellent. Coming back down, back to hands and knees. So that it's easy for you, just move the block to the other side. I'm going to turn right the way around, but you just move the block, so you don't have to turn around. I'm just doing that so we keep the vibe going. And then when ready, obviously you should be turning away from me this time. And you raise your leg up and breathe through your nose. Breathing deep, breathing natural. If you feel ready, or when you feel ready, you can experiment with slowly releasing your hand from the block and raising up. That's optional. Breathing should be deep. Good job. Coming down calmly. Well done. Back to hands and knees. Put your block to one side. Take a breath or two. Let your pelvis move left, right, forwards, backwards. Taking deeper breaths. Just, really expressive breaths. So, you're really turning from a closed fist to an open palm. And, there's this naturalness. When you're ready, take the arm furthest from me and the leg closest to me and lift them both up and allow movement, up, down, left, right, whatever helps. So the point is, whatever helps what? Helps absorption, or we could say reabsorption. Reabsorption of what? Of the particle into the wave. What is the particle here? That's the avatar, the self-construct. The Satkaya Ditti. Satkaya Ditti means the self-created view. I'm calling it the avatar here. Those that want could also, if you wanted to, bend the top leg and reach for it. That's an optional extra. You don't have to do that. And it's not, I say extra, it doesn't necessarily mean better. Although challenge tends to help counterbalance the gravitas that habit patterns have. Vyagrasana, the tiger.
That's the name of this pose. Coming back to hands and knees. Let's hear some deep breaths, please. And some movements that are natural. And when you're ready, of course, other arm, other leg, come up into the air and bobbing around. So bobbing, quite a sort of buoyant thing. I can't help but think of apple bobbing. It's something I was always massively excited. I would beg my parents, on Halloween. Was it Halloween you do it? Yeah, I think so. Please let me apple bob, I'd say. And they were a bit resistant because it normally just meant lots of apples just became sort of slightly bitten and spitty. But anyway, I think they let me do it once or twice. It was marvelous fun. There's something about the sort of lightness and the ungraspableness. That's what's fun about apple bobbing. You can't really, especially a child's tiny mouth, they can't really get hold of an apple with their mouth. So it's mostly just shoving your face in water, which is what I liked, I think. So if you want, you can reach for your back leg. That's optional. The thing is, if you've got enough to use as a chute into a direct experience of interdependence, that's all you need. Sometimes the poses can be red herrings, and we can spend years trying to get good at the poses. I want to get good at the poses. I want to look better in the poses. I want to get the praise that I imagine people will give me if I get good at the poses. But the reality is, being good at yoga is now. It's like, can you use this sensation right now as a way into the living experience of interdependence? It's a living experience. Back to hands and knees. When you're ready, take deep natural breaths, circling the pelvis, left, right, forwards, backwards, whatever works for you. We're going to bring the foot closest to me into the place of the hand that's closest to me. Come onto your fingertips, tuck your back toes under, and lift your back knee up. And then use that as an opportunity to play with stretches that work for you in terms of flow, returning us to flow. So interdependence is flow. Now, Buddhists focus on it. They're like, be aware of flow. They're all the time. They're like, be aware of flow. Be aware. They call it anitya in Sanskrit or anicca in Pali. Be aware of flow. Or, change. The reality of subtle change, not the philosophical concept of change, but the reality here and now of subtle change. Now, for many people, this is more than enough. You get plenty out of it, and that's all we want. We're getting plenty out of it. Or you can, if you want, bring your hands up onto your thigh. Breathing through your nose. Ups the ante pretty, definitely. And if you want to up the ante a little bit more, it will be good and intense. You raise your arms up. Breathe through your nose, if you can. It may cause burning sensations in your front thigh, which just means your quadriceps are working. Calmly coming down and back to hands and knees. And no doubt, a big deep breath or two, or three, or four, or five. So natural deep breaths. And that's why we do these poses, to evoke a release, a letting go back of the particle back into its wave form. Now bring your other foot forwards when you're ready. Jaw soft, eyes relaxed. Lift your back knee up with your toes tucked under. And move investigatively forwards and backwards, up and down, whatever creates that easeful flow and that dynamic awakeness. Easeful flow, dynamic awakeness. And then climb up onto your leg if you want. That's an optional station. It adds a bit of excitement to the morning. Keep the tummy toned. Great job. Keep the tummy toned. And then the
icing on the cake, although you may disagree about its sweetness, is arms raised up. It's, of course, a version of Anjaneyasana. Breathe deep into it. Come down without haste. Slow, slow, slow. And then back to hands and knees. Catch your breath. Let's hear a deep breath. Or 2 or 3 or 4. Bit of movement of the pelvis. Let's bring the knee that's closest to me directly behind the wrist. Bring the foot diagonally across the body and stretch back. Massage it in. If there's any discomfort in the medial knee, in the inside of the knee, lean right across that side. If there's none, of course, you don't need to do that. Coming down to elbows, forearms and wrists. Breathe through the nose if you can. Massage it in. Massage it in. Deeper breaths, natural breaths, honest breaths. Soften the temples, soften the forehead, soften the eyes. Relax the jaw, relax the tongue. Okay, to come out, you come up, you bring the back knee forwards by tucking the back toes under, then you come back to hands and knees and catch your breath. Really deep breaths are useful, very useful. It stretches into cross toes, they release the diaphragm and so on. Other knee forwards when you feel ready. The foot moves diagonally across the body and you stretch back in your own time, listening to the intimacies of the body. So it's beautiful to really be very, very intimate, to really open up to. This is remember what the meaning, the deeper meaning, the underlying meaning of this well-used phrase in Buddhism of shunyata. It's not just Buddhism, the Shaivas adopt it as well. In Tantric Shaivism. And then down to your elbows, forearms, and wrists. So this openness. As you come down, deeper meaning of emptiness, as it's mentioned in texts like the Mula Madhyamaka Karika, written by Nagarjuna, his most famous text on emptiness. Which is a wonderful text, actually. But the essence of that is openness. It's being open, You repeat that as a mantra through the day, it's just like openness. Like a sky without any clouds in it. Like an open palm. Like mist clearing to a beautiful day. Tuck under the back toes as you push up. Bring the back knee forwards. Come back to hands and knees and catch a deep breath, or 2 or 3 or 4. And then from there, we're going to bring ourselves to sitting on a block with our legs extended
out in front of us. You can sit on 2 blocks, but you'd need another one behind you if you did. Draw the buttock flesh out and back once you're on your block. Jaw soft, breathing, easy, natural. Oh, you need a patika as well, you need a belt, so make sure you've got a belt nearby. Jaw soft, breathing, easy. Fold or bend the leg that's furthest away from me, just as I'm bending and folding the leg that's furthest away from you. And just hug round the leg and lift up the waist. And perhaps a little bit of natural movement beyond thought. That's the instruction of Hatha Yoga, Unmana, beyond thought. So deep breaths and rocking to softness. The extended leg can hop out, mine towards you, yours towards me, a little bit. That helps the pelvis. Then we're going to take the patika, the belt, and we're going to bring it around the foot in front of us, and keeping the belt as short as possible. When you feel ready, turn towards me. That's it. Yeah, that me. Yeah, of course, I am everywhere all at once, as we all are, but this conventional me here. And breathe through your nose. Good job. Pull on the patika and lift in the chest and waist. Pull on the patika and lift on the chest and waist, and turn a little more, but very, very gently. It's very, very gentle. So awakeness and gentleness go together, the same thing. Now, I quite like twisting the belt around so my arm internally rotates and it pulls my body a little further around, which I quite like. It helps with the lower back muscles, and it pulls without me using the muscles of the lower back to make that turn. So they can still remain relatively soft. They're not completely passive, but soft. So this is the twist, or one variation of the twist part of Marichasana number 1. Then you release and return to center. Extend out your legs. Draw the buttock flesh out and back. I'm going to move my block. You're not going to move yours, though. You're just going to bend your other leg. So when you're ready, you bend the other leg similarly. And the straight one just hops out from the midline. Just a centimeter is enough, usually. Breathing through the nose. The spine is tall and lifted. There might be a bit of movement side to side. Breath is natural, expressive, honest. Eyes are soft, calm, relaxed. And we're looking to return to the wave form that all of nature fundamentally is. So Prakriti, the texts tell us, or nature, is one wave form in pure potential, and it manifests its potentials upon observation, upon being received by the senses. Now, once you're feeling nice and soft and upright, then take your patika, as you did before, and round your foot. You hold it with the same hand as the bent leg, and this time you should be turning the opposite direction to the way you turned before. Fingertips on the floor, behind you or on a block. Breathe through your nose if you can. Relax the jaw if you want. Lift the spine as tall as you can from the lumbar, whilst keeping it super, super, super soft. Tall and soft. Breath-centered and meditative.
If you found it useful or you're interested in experimenting with it again, twisting the belt so the arm internally rotates can help to bring some of the tissue of the lower back and the back of the ribs round a little further. That works very, very well for me. Obviously, if it doesn't work well, you maybe can make adaptations or just not use it at all. It's fine as well. Breathing through the nose if you can. Okay, nice and easy release. Stretch out your legs. Give yourself a little energy bar. That means a proper rub down from foot to back, to chest, to face, to armpits, to every single bit of the body, unless you're wearing a little microphone, and then you should avoid that bit of the body because it will make a terrible noise for Zoomers. Having done that and feeling relatively vavavumi, we're going to bend the leg that's closest to me and lift up the chest and lower back. We're going to hop the straight leg a little way out, just a centimeter. And then on the inhale, we lift and we turn towards me, giving the leg a sort of headlock kind of thing. Breathe through your nose. Lift and turn your tummy. Lift and turn your tummy. This is a version of Marichasana number 3. Lots of versions of these poses, but this is a version of Marichasana number 3. Keep it soft, keep it natural. Keep it breath-centered. Okay, calmly release. We're going to do the other side. I'm moving my block. You're not moving yours. Just ignore me moving mine. But you are bending your other leg to the one you just bent. Hop the straight one out, lift up. Breathe through your nose and that little headlock and turn. The channels, Ida and Pingala, either side of the central channel, are wrapped around the central channel as we twist, inviting and pouring energy from those two channels that represent our day-to-day mundane existence, the cycling round of our karmic lives. That energy is poured instead into the central channel, which is openness, non-particular. It is the wave, it's pure potential. It's non-dual, it's Advaita. It's consciousness without being caught in any object, anything we're conscious of. Okay, well done. Return calmly to center. Extend out your legs. Take a breath or two. And it's straight down to the back according to my chronograph. And even if you're someone who has to be really on time with this class, allow for 60 seconds if you can for Shavasana. So palms facing up, block under the head of your head tips back. Let your lower back settle before extending the legs out. If it does feel settled, go ahead straight away or whenever the time comes and extending the legs out. The arms should be well placed. That is to say, the hands should not be on the yoga mat. The shoulder blades are scooted under the body, leaving the chest floating and buoyant.
Take an extra deep breath and feel everything release all together. Weight, ideas, opinions. Consciousness doesn't belong to anybody. It doesn't have a gender. It doesn't have an age. It doesn't have history or future. It doesn't have borderlines. There is no inside and outside. There's no us and them. There's no me and you. Consciousness is love because consciousness includes all, is open to all, excludes none. Nothing is excluded from the heart emitting loving kindness or consciousness. Feel gently into your body with a little wiggling of the toes and fingers and wrists and ankles, just feeling into the body. It's a bit of a short corpse pose, but better short than nothing. Obviously, if you're staying for the next class, you can stay in corpse pose as long as you want. And if you want to stay longer in corpse pose at home, you can. But otherwise, bending the legs and placing the soles of the feet onto the floor, scooting the buttocks under, letting go the lower back entirely into the breath. Before rolling onto your side, facing away from the front of the room, where we have a lovely statue of green Tara. Rolling back again in your own time, laying comfortably there. Letting light and color and sound and sensation in, bringing yourself gently, gently up from the side when you feel ready. Hands to prayer, facing towards green Tara. May any benefit that we've gained in our acting in this way go to the alleviation of the suffering of absolutely all beings. Om. News bulletin, I'm just decided that the 8 o'clock class that follows this one will now be a drop-in level 2 from now on. That means to say, anyone who's done regular yoga for a year or more, the 8 o'clock class will be for those people now. It's a specialist class. The 9:30 class will remain for anybody. That's just to make it more fun for me. And don't forget my retreats coming up in May, and Morocco holidays coming up, and India next year. Stay out of trouble, gang. Love you. Bye.